Hello everyone and welcome to round 2 of BMW Challenge here at 2S. Today it is me, myself and I, Christian Stricker, on the commentary and also the broadcasting, running this little series again for you guys today to have a great entertainment for tonight. A nice Monday evening, a little bit cold outside, a little bit rainy, but hopefully you can get some nice cup of tea or some nice hot chocolate, tune in, enjoy your snacks and then enjoy the next hour or so of racing we have here at 2S. So, going off last week, we had quite an interesting race at Oldham Park. It wasn't so much dramas, to be honest, but we had George Brabner leading from start to finish basically and having a dominating performance. Someone who had a little bit more trouble, but is first out doing his quali lap, is Sam Chumley, who got caught up in a few incidents. Here he is, back again today with arguably the most disgusting livery on the grid. I don't know why he chose this colour, but I think his team name does suit it quite well. So he is the first one to set a lap right now. We'll go on board with him for the first lap and see what he is capable of doing. Sam Chumley obviously quite familiar with the BMW at Nurburgring, as he did run it in season 11 here at 2S. So I would assume he is able to produce quite some banging lap times, at least for qualifying, and also have great race pace around this track. We do have 25 drivers today, so that is quite a big field. All 25 drivers, if they finish this race, will be entered into the raffle. Keep this in mind. We will be having a raffle at the end of round 5 of this season, where we will basically just do a giveaway of 3 €20 gift vouchers, or the equivalent in whatever currency you have in your home country. And the way you enter this giveaway is by getting a raffle ticket, as I just mentioned, and you have to complete a race to get this raffle ticket. So there you go. This is our little Christmas special, as we always do every year, and it's great fun to watch as Sam is coming into the last few corners now. It's a fast right-hander, flat out, keeping it nice and tight, going into the chicane, braking between 100 and the 50 board, jumping over the curbs, see if we can keep this car nice and planted on the road. Not too many issues through that first chicane on his first banker lap, so to say. A little bit wide on the corner entrance and exit there, but it's okay, not too bad as he goes towards the line. It's about to set the fast first lap of the day, 154. 154.1. And George Brabner is very close behind with 2/10 as actually Andrej Miklia. Some of you guys might know him as Legend. I can't remember. I keep getting those two guys confused. One of them is Rinoja, the other one is Miklia. He goes P1 again, and he also made an appearance in season 10, I believe, in the BMW, so he will be quite familiar with this car. Quite a few new names today. One person I want to point out in particular is Lars Kirschbaum, who's running the same BMW sim racing livery as Andrej Miklia. And Lars Kirschbaum is a Rennwelten driver. He joined us for the Nations Cup last year, which we held as part of the Christmas special. And here he is again, ready to race with 2S. For those of you who don't know, Rennwelten is one of the strongest teams, I would say, esports teams, top tier teams. You'd see them racing in the highest caliber leagues, and also for SRO esports. And Lars Kirschbaum is here today to represent them, which is great. And I actually spoke to him over the weekend while he was competing in his 12 hours of Watkins Glen. Or I don't actually know, he wasn't competing, he was with the team who were competing in the 12 hours of Watkins Glen, and we were sharing drivers of Felix Ruppert. So Felix Ruppert, shout out to him. He did both the 12 hours of Watkins Glen and the 12 hours of Bathurst with the Luxley Racing team in the Bathurst and the Rennwelten team on Watkins Glen. He did actually both races in 2 different cars, so he had a major task over the weekend, and Lars Kirschbaum is his teammate. So just a quick little shout out. Which brings me nicely to the next segue. Marius Torres in chat says, "Congratulations on the P4 in Bathurst." Thank you very much. It was a great result. We didn't expect it. We had many ups and downs, but if it wasn't up for us, it was down to Tommy Azulin, who is actually representing the livery we were racing over the weekend, because we were also using the BMW for the 12 hours of Bathurst, and this is exactly the livery we were using. So it represents Luxembourg, and as you can see by the teammate, Luxley Racing powered by ACL, and this is the car that drove and won Bathurst. So drove and won. What am I saying? Drove and got P4 in Bathurst, So we thought that was quite a nice result to have, and definitely very proud of that one. Tommy Aslin doing amazing stints. Myself doing, I'd say, quite some good stints as well. Felix Ruppert, who's not here today on the track, but he had brilliant stints. And then finally, let's not forget, Ben Lowe's also doing a brilliant job as the team. And we took a great result of P4 and starting, I think, P16, and then getting a drive-through for one incident, which was the tiniest of touches, but it did send the guy flying off the track. Luckily, the guy got no damage and was able to recover quickly, but that sent us a drive-through. So we were basically last at the beginning of the race, and to climb our way all the way back up to P4, we think that was quite a big achievement, to be fair. And yeah, I can say nothing but proud of the team. We're actually all going to go out for ice cream after this race. So I'm going to go be meeting Ben and Tommy for and Felix for ice cream. So yeah, little side note, Bathurst, and a little bit of self-appreciation. Never hurts anyone, but there you go. So we have Ben Lowe's on his banker lap, coming into the last sector now. He just has a few more corners to navigate before he sets his first lap time. See what he's able to do, and Marius in chat saying he knows the people that took P3. If I'm not mistaken, was that the Lithuanian team, Marius? I noticed it's the Lithuanian team. I can't remember if they were the ones that took P3 or not. But anyways, congratulations for them on the podium. As Ben Lowe's rounds the final corner, what's he able to produce? He has been having a lot of seat time in the BMW, but he said Nurburgring is one of the tracks he struggles with, and he puts into provisionally pre-12 right behind Martin Muller. Let's see, let's go back to Lars Kirschbaum, who's actually improving his lap by quite some margins at the moment. He's 2/10 up going into the hairpin here, right before Schumacher S's. And let's see what he's able to get on the exit. He gets a brilliant exit actually compared to his previous lap, and now he's 3/10 up on this lap. Let's see what he's able to do through the Schumacher S's. I've been told it can be flat if you are in quali fuel, but I'm not sure if that counts with the BMW anymore. It used to be that you could do it flat, but I'm really not sure anymore. It seems like everyone's lifting slightly as Lars Kirschbaum is coming into the final sector now. Let's see if he's able to maintain his lap times. He gets a little bit sideways on the exit there, and that does cost him quite a bit of time. So he's actually lost all the positive delta he has and drops it down, down into the negatives. Let's see if he's able to gain some of that time back in the last chicane, and he doesn't, so he dives straight into the pit lane. Alexander Diakowski back here today with the Jim Beam livery created by our in-house, I would say, meme livery creator of Bosch, and I actually think, as far as liveries goes, this is one of his better creations. It's got great detail on it, to be honest, and I really like it. And Alexander Diakowski has been representing the Jim Beam livery for quite a few seasons now, and I think it used to be gold, now it's green, and it's still just as good of a livery as always. As he crosses the line, goes into P7 provisionally. I'm going to try and see if anyone else is on a flyer, and there is someone who, right here, Tommy Azelin on a flyer. Got the final few chicanes to navigate. He's over half a second up on his lap time. Let's see what he's able to do in the final few corners as we get a nice rear view mirror view there, a rear splitter view I should say. So he's coming to the line now. It looks like it could be P2. Oh, it just misses out on provisional P2, but gets him up to P3. So great stuff from Tommy Azelin. And I'm gonna go have a look at George Brabner, who was the winner of last race, and he seems to be struggling a little bit. He did say he hasn't raced Nurburgring in quite a long time, and he was quite tired as well, as running on a little bit of sleep. So he doesn't expect any great results today, but I'd say provisionally P6, not bad at all. He is 7/10 behind Andrei Miklia, but Andrei Miklia did set a blistering lap time of 1:53.555. I see George Brabner coming around the final corner now. It does have a little bit of a positive delta. Let's see who was able to put the car provisionally. Let's see. He comes to the line now, goes up to P3, just manages to pip Tommy Azelin with 4 minutes to go. So it's a bit more where we expect George Brabner to be, and he's already proving why he is a 2x 2S champion here today. Let's go see if we can find someone else to talk about. Some new names I've noticed. Janos Gebhardt, he raced in Alton Park, but his race didn't last long. Still running that all-black livery for the high performance and sport team. I would expect to see a little bit better performance today. But yeah, I say Alton Park. I think he ended 2 laps later or something. So nothing too crazy. But yeah, hopefully he lasts a lot longer this time around here today at Nurburgring. I'm gonna try and see if I'm just reading the chat. Sorry, Productive Panda. Nice to hear from you again. Yeah, he did that. I believe he commentated Nations Cup with me or something along those lines. Him and what was this? Another commentator we had quite some while ago. He definitely did IndyCar, I believe, as well. Nice to see you back. It says, just seen the message from February. It's quite a while ago. Really sorry, no idea why I didn't answer. Don't worry about it at all. Oh, as we get Gebhardt losing control of his BMW into the barriers, and that's gonna have to go back to the pits to repair. Let's go have a look at Gareth Higgins. Anyway, I was gonna say Productive Panda. Don't worry about it. It's no worries. It's nice to see you back. That's the main thing. And let's have Gareth Higgins also having his return to 2S in this BMW series, just jumping through the last chicane. Let's see what he's able to produce. He's quite high up in his delta, to be honest. There could be a provisional P2, P3, give or take. Let's see what he gets a decent exit out of the corner, a little bit slidey. Comes across the line and right behind Tommy Aslin in P5 actually. So P3 to P5 only separated by 700ths. That is close. That's a very competitive grid. That does make me quite excited for the race. I look forward to it. Martin Muller also on quite a flyer compared to his previous lap, with representing the pay-to-win team. I don't know if that's the case in ACC. Well, maybe it is. I think if some of the DLCs have what's considered OP cars, but it's definitely not in the case where everyone's racing the same car as the BMW Challenge, as we see today. Martin Muller coming to the final corner now is nearly 5 tenths up in his lap time. That's quite a big improvement. It won't see him jump any places, but it's going to get him much closer to Antoine Olive there in P11 at the moment, who's also having a decent qualifying performance, and his teammate Jack Mills right behind him in P12. Not bad either, honestly. Viktor Savinsky coming across the line now. That's going to jump him up to P12, such as where Jack Mills was, and he's representing Team Shazoo today, as he always does. He is a Team Shazoo driver, I'd say. He had good pace last weekend at last week at Alton Park. I can't remember exactly if he got caught up in any incidents or something happened. I just remember he had quite good quality pace, and then all of a sudden he wasn't winning anymore. So yeah, I don't know what. Excuse me for not remembering exactly what happened, but you'll have to bear with me. So Andrei Miklia about to complete his final lap. Well, I'll say about to. He's in the first sector still, but he's already 2 tenths up somehow on his lap. I don't know how he does it, but he is. Every time we see him race, he does always put it in the top 3 at least during qualifying, and today is no different. But he's 2 tenths up still. Let's go on board, see how he navigates these corners. I keep forgetting these corner names, but he takes a tight line into I believe turn 6, 7. I'm not too sure, don't quote me on that. But gets quite a good exit because of it, the way he places the cars down into the hairpin now. It's a double apex corner and he hits it beautifully, gets on the power nice and early, runs the car all the way out wide on the exit there. Let's see if he lifts. It does lift a little bit through Schumacher S's. I was pretty certain it wasn't flat anymore, and there's the proof. And he's still 3 tenths up in his lap time, so this could potentially be a sub 53 lap time for quali, which would be insane. Navigating the final corners here beautifully, gets on the apex, on the power early. Nicely done. A little bit slidey on the exit though, so he does lose a little bit of time. But I don't think anyone else is challenging him, as Lars Kirschbaum is up to P2 provisionally. Sam Chumley is still on a lap, but I don't think it'll be quick enough to see Andrei Miklia navigating the last few sectors here. And then jumping into the final corner. He's got Andrew Moulton in front of him, but that's not close enough to be a distraction. Gets on the power early, gets his delta positive. Is it going to be a sub 53 lap time? No, it's not, but it's going to be a huge jump from P1 to P2. Brilliant performance there from Andrej Miklia to take pole position. And I was going to say, the only man who can potentially knock him out is Alexander Diakovsky, and he has now obviously just gone off the track, as you've seen. The last guy to cross the line, Gareth Higgins, is he able to improve and potentially pip Tommy Azelin there in P7? It's going to be very close looking at his delta. He's going to come to the line now. He's got the speed on him. Is it going to pip him? No, he is not. Just finishes his quality session in P8 behind Tommy Azelin. But that was a great little qualifying session for this race. Quite interesting and very exciting. Thank you very much for that, drivers. So I'm quickly just catching up on some of the chatter in chat. I'm going to run the track video a little bit. Panda saying he's commentated with Bigos before. Yes, he has. Bigos was a commentator earlier on to us, and he'd love to come back. Well, Panda, we'd be happy to have you back for sure. And then it's nice to see you doing good with finals and all that. Good luck for your last test tomorrow, and yeah, for sure. If you want to come back, we'll definitely have you back. You were great a year ago, and I'm pretty sure you're just as great, if not better now, to have as a commentator. So yeah, nice to see old friends again in the chat. That's always very wholesome. But now let's go for. I've been told with feedback that people quite like my my track videos. So here is the Nurburgring. Which is the GP Strecke of the Nordschleife, which you see all the tarmac you see in the distance, that is the Nordschleife. Brilliant track. I know Tommy Azelin is basically a local resident there. He goes every weekend, so it's not surprising to see him further up the order today in P7, that Luxley racing car powered by ACL. You see right there with the Luxembourgish flag. Anyways, so here is the start-finish straight as we go down, zoom down into turn 1. It's quite a tricky corner to get correct on the best of times, and even more tricky with the whole grid surrounding you into turn 1. Quite often you see clashes and crashes and spins and what have you down into this corner. It's nice and banked, so if you get on this curb here, you can actually spin your car if you get on the power too quickly. Then we sweep into the left-hander here, you lift a little bit, get on the throttle nice and early, over to the exit here, and again another slight overtaking opportunity into the hard braking zone, into the left right-handed complex here through the Mercedes-Benz complex here, because of the Mercedes-Benz grandstands right there, and then you power down. It's sort of a mini straight, and if you get a good exit previously, you can overtake into this corner, but it doesn't happen often. But again, another nice left right-hander sweeping corners. I'd say this is one of the more tricky corners. You have to sort of stay out wide and then cut back in, and there's no real braking reference points, so you sort of have to guess a little bit. And then we go all the way down to the hairpin down here, which I believe is where I can't remember. Anyways, we'll move on. As we saw earlier with Mikli on the onboard, it's a double apex corner. You run a nice out wide on the curbs, and then over to the infamous Schumacher S's, and here is where Lewis Hamilton crashed in qualifying in 2007, where his brakes failed and he went straight into the wall right ahead of us. But here, through the Schumacher S's we go, and up to another overtaking opportunity, but not such a big opportunity. If you run close in the Schumacher S's, you might be able to do it, get a better exit if someone else goes a bit too far on the curbs. Down into the tricky blind left-hand corner into third gear, I believe, and then you keep running in third and fourth, back to third gear for the final corner. Get a late apex early on the throttle here, run all the way down the straight and up to the chicane over here, and that is a very tricky chicane. You brake between the 150 board, jump over the left curb without hitting this little bit here. Oh, I got onto the track. Jump over the right curb without hitting this little bit here, because it will unsettle your car. Back around the last corner and down the main straight. And as we see, the cars have now started their outlap here today. Beautiful track, Nurburgring. I was going to say, it's Jurgen Visser in the pit lane. I noticed it. He just comes into chat and says, I forgot to click drive. Well, Jurgen Visser, you don't qualify anyways, so what can I say? But yeah, as we just see the first few cars, like, let's go back towards the grid. See the two rusty BMWs there of Jack Mills and Antonio Levin, both of them actually together. It's nice to see. Quite a lot of nice liveries here on the grid today, and Van der Hooding quite far down as well. I didn't expect to see that from him today. Let's try and get a little bit cinematic now with the cars coming up through the Schumacher S. Let's just get a little bit of, here we go, a little bit of sign of Michael Schumacher S. Obviously the cars are heating up their tires and all that, but you don't want to weave too much, otherwise you will grain the tires harder than you need to for the 40 minutes race. No tire changes mandatory in this race, however you do have to pit for at least 1 liter of fuel. So there is pit stop strategy involved. And we saw last week a few different takes on the strategy, which would be interesting to see. Yet again we saw, I think, Vito Surinsky, he decided to pit on lap 1 and try and space himself from the rest of the grid and get some free air to try and undercut a lot of people. Somewhat worked out for him. He did undercut a few people, but he also got caught up in traffic while doing so. I think Nurburgring might be a bit of a better place to do that actually, because it's not such a short track, so you won't catch up to the back markers as quickly, and they might have pitted by the time you catch up, or they will have such a big gap in front of them that they won't race you as hard as Alton Park. It's also easier to overtake on Nurburgring than Alton Park, as Visser in the chat says. He's not alone in the pit lane. And you're right, you have the number 86 next to you in the pit lane as well, who I'm just trying to find out is Andrew Moulton, who is you can hold each other's hand at the pit exit while the other cars come zooming past. I expect you behave into turn 1 though. As the cars are coming around the final few corners now. It's going to get quite exciting very soon here at 2S for the BMW Challenge. So quite cool seeing this, both the BMW sim racing liveries on the start front runners. They're not teammates, these guys, but they definitely make it seem so. But anyways, the car is lining up, ready to pounce. Green lights, we are go, 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 and I believe Miklia has got a good jump there in front of Sam Chomlik, but Sam Chomlik is a great launch. Seems Diakowski got swallowed a little bit behind by the yellow car there, Prithvi, and there's pretty okay turn 1 there, not too many deaths I would say so. It seems everyone's managed to come through as the Luxay racing driver of Tommy Aslan trying to go around Prithvi on the exit there, and down the inside goes Diakowski. It's going to hit Sam Chomlik, gets spun again for the 2nd race in a row by someone diving through, and that is a really annoying crash, but Diakowski reacting way too late on the brakes, straight into the back of Sam Chomlik. That is very unfortunate for him, and that's gonna put Sam back to the back of the grid. But other than that, no other real incidents happening at the moment, as we just ride with George Bradley, who is behind Alexander Diakowski, who made that mistake earlier on in the race that Sam Chomlik unfortunately got caught up in. Not such a great start for Sam, but I'm sure he'll be able to recover. He's a very fast driver, we saw it in qualifying, and I have no doubt that he will be able to put in some brilliant overtakes, so it'll be quite entertaining to see what he is able to produce here today for Sam. He's got nothing to lose now, so it's go hard or go home for Sam, that's for sure. Let's jumping back through the grid. We have Victor Surinsky trying to go around the outside of Jack Mills into the corner there, turns in a little bit early and they get contact yet again. And Jack Mills parking the car. Sam Chomlik, massive evasive maneuver there. And going all the way off the track is Victor Surinsky. I think he's having some sort of issues there, technically. But Jack Mills patiently waits for for the rest of the field to pass him to get back on track. But I'm sure there'll be chatter in the stewarding room about that one. There's 2 incidents in lap 1, and I think 2 of them are deemed in one person's favor at least that I can think of. Tommy Aslan lining up a move now on George Brabner, going down into turn 1. George Brabner goes defensive. Tommy Aslan tries to go around the outside. Will he make it happen? He does have the inside for the next corner, so as long as they can stick side by side, George Brabner does stay ahead for now, so Tommy has to back out of this move, get back behind George Brabner, and settle for P5 as it stands just for the moment. But Tommy Aslan with a great aggressive start for here in the 2S BMW Challenge. And it's good to see him already jump 2 positions already. That is a good start for him. I've just seen in the chat that we have a Jorge Prieto. fan in the chat. So here you go. Let's get a bit of screen time for him. I do excuse if I pronounce the name wrong. Is it Jorge Prieto? Prieto? I'm very sorry if I get the name wrong. I'm not Spanish. But he's running in P11 at the moment. Not a bad start for him either. We haven't seen him before in 2S, I believe. So welcome, Jorge. It's been great to have you on the grid, and so far you're in the middle of the pack. This is great stuff. It's nice to see new faces all the time, and it's also nice to see you got some fans in chat. So shout out to Jorge and his fans. We have an incident down at the hairpin with the car number 9. I've just noticed. I'll try and find it for you. Of Mikhail Renault he's got going again. So that is the Ukrainian BMW. He's had some sort of there's nothing happening on the contact tool. So I would say maybe a solo incident of some sort. I can't quite tell. But anyways, let's have a look at Tommy Aslan. Still applying pressure to George Brabner. He's a little bit far behind, but all he needs is a good exit on the final corner, and that he can get the speed to overtake into turn 1. But it doesn't look like he's quite close enough to make that move stick at this moment. So quite a big train behind the number 26 of Mikhail Osterholm. Well, I'd say a big train. It was a bigger train. It's not such a big train anymore, actually. So I don't really know what I'm saying there. But let's have a look at the replay between Jack Mills and Viktor Savinsky from earlier on. So you have Viktor Savinsky trying to go around the outside of Jack Mills, and he actually looks like he had the move done before the corner. Oh, so that's what happens. So Jack, under braking, tries to re-overtake Viktor Savinsky, and that is why he had that incident earlier on. Not the greatest of racecraft there, and I think we have a Mills no moment already in this race. It wouldn't be a 2S race without a Mills no moment. So I'm happy we got to catch that. Sorry, Jack. Those of you new to 2S, you'll get used to it. But Jack Mills, he's been with us since the first season of ACC. I'd say nearly 3 years ago, actually. And I think every single race we've had, at least most of them, there's been some sort of thing happening with Jack Mills. It's just become a sort of a legendary move in the 2S community of him making mistakes somewhere. And today is no different. We have a Mills no moment, the term coined by our usual commentator Timo. Way back when in season 2, 3 I believe. But Tommy Haslam trying to make a move on George Brabner, just backs out of it a little bit there, but he's got a great pace at the moment. He's very racy indeed, looking to make moves on George Brabner in front, and George Brabner slowly, I don't know what just came out of my mouth, slowly came falling behind Alexander Diakovsky. But I do expect him to pick up the pace soon when he gets a bit more familiar with the track. As he said, it was a very long time ago since he's raced here at Nurburgring. And maybe also the pressure from behind of Tommy Aslan not helping him so much, I would say. We had the first of the pit stoppers now, of Ben Lowe's going into the pits and Maximilian Jobst into the pit lane as well. I think that's to try and get some free air. Maybe they feel like they were stuck behind the guys in front of them. And this is the way to try and make an undercut, so to say. It's not mandatory to change tires, however it is mandatory to change at least 1 liter of fuel. So the pit stops are nice and short here today. It's basically just a splash and dash really, unless you decide to... Oh, Viktor Savinsky going down the inside of Job Gerhardt, Janos Gerhardt there, and Janos Gerhardt getting a little bit out of shape there, so Jürgen Visser ready to pounce now on Gerhardt in front of him, but he just stays behind a little bit, and the braking zone gets very close to Gerhardt, and actually tries to go around the outside, which is a move I've never seen before in that corner, and it doesn't manage to stick for him. I just see Vorak in chat. Wait, aren't you racing? Wait, what happened, Vorak? Alright. Anyways, but yes, change fuel, sorry. Refuel. As Visser gets quite a good exit. See if he's able to stay with Gerhardt in the Schumacher S's. Lifts a little bit more than Gerhardt, but gets a great run on the exit. Is he going to make a move up the inside? He might think about it, and he just decides to back out of it a little bit. But Gebhardt goes a little bit deep, which is going to allow Visser to take the outside for the next corner. Will he make it stick? Trying to go around the outside. He's going for it. He's not quite made it as he runs out of room. And he has to settle in behind yet again to try and make a move. While that's happening, Tommy Aslin on the back of George Brabner into turn 1. Is he able to get past George Brabner finally? It doesn't look like it, but there is a little bit of a train behind Lars Kirschbaum forming as Andrei Miklia has just stormed off into the distance. But Tommy Aslin looking very racy indeed. Lars Kirschbaum just navigating these next few corners nice and gently while keeping the rest of the field behind him. Let's go back to Jeroen Visser and his battle with Gebhardt. It looks like he's finally going to be able to make a move up the inside into turn 1. He's going for the inside, and he's definitely got the inside now. He's going late on the brakes, and Gebhardt just lets him through. No need to fight that one. Visser gets the move done up into P16 after starting from the pit lane. So it's a Jeroen Visser classic, so to say, this one. Jumping back to Tommy Aslin, I feel like he gets a lot of screen time today, and I'm sure he'll love it. I mean, it's like there's no bias, not just because he's my teammate over the weekend, not just because we're going for ice cream later on. It's just because he's driving fast today and applying pressure to George Brabner, bringing the excitement for us here. Already 10 minutes through the race, just half an hour to go. It goes very quickly, these 40-minute races. I remember we used to have 45-minute races here to West for the main season until we changed them to 60 minutes. And 45-minute races we had to do a mandatory pit stop for tires, I believe. And it just meant you just shred your tires. But here they need to be a little bit more careful. Obviously 40 minutes is not enough to make a tire go completely up, but it's enough for it to lose a little bit of traction towards the end of the stint. But it is a bit of a sprint go like crazy with a little bit of a breathing break in the pit lane for refueling. That's it. Here we go again. George Brabner under pressure from Tommy Aslin. Tommy Aslin, will he be able to make a move? Stick. Brabner goes to the inside, Aslin to the outside. A little bit closer this time around, but looks like a repeat of the last lap. And George Brabner gets the better exit yet again, and Tommy Aslin has to slot in behind. So all his efforts to overtake, it's very difficult as Brabner ahead just keeps his composure, nails his braking points, and Aslin has nothing to do apart from just slotting in behind George Brabner again, because that's the case when you race George. It's very difficult to get past. Gareth Higgins is also on a little bit of a charge himself with Wauner March up ahead, so it's nice to see Higgins. Last time disconnecting due to internet issues. Here he is without internet issues, and he's showing his true pace today, pushing March through the corner basically, going down into the hairpin and see what exit he's going to get. Not really an overtaking opportunity into the hairpin unless you're going side by side down into it. It's a hard braking zone because it's downhill, so people often go way too deep if they race each other, so you can sort of force each other into a mistake in that case. But March keeping his head calm and collected, doesn't crack from the pressure behind, and Higgins just has to stay there and keep applying the pressure to see if March will crack, but it doesn't look like he will anytime soon. That's all. Marvin Betch also having a little bit of a battle of his own, going up against Sandro Ballesteros here today. Marvin Betch, who I mentioned earlier, was the livery designer of the Jim Beam livery made for Alexander Diakovsky, and I think he's also the designer of this Alpina BMW livery. And he actually gets a great exit there compared to Ballesteros and breezes past him down the straight into the final chicane. So that is a poor exit from Ballesteros. Betch says thank you very much, moves up the position and takes P13. And right behind Ballesteros we have Jack Mills, who's also starting to apply the pressure. But speaking of pressure being applied, we're back at this battle here with Lars Kirschbaum having Alexander Diakovsky, George Brabner and Tommy Aslin right behind me. It can't be an easy job, but it's definitely one he is doing very well to keep these guys behind us, right on board with his rear wing to see what happens behind us. Sort of the best view on the track really for what's happening. If Tommy Aslin makes a move on George Brabner, we get the front row position, front row seats right here. As actually Lars gets a brilliant exit here and gives himself a little bit of distance between himself and Alexander Diakovsky, which is then regained again in the hairpin. With another brilliant exit, Lars is actually gaining a bit more distance again, as we were saying. But Tommy Aslin right behind, applying the pressure yet again at George Brabham. I feel like it's not a question of if, it's more a question of when. Is George weaving around to try and break the concentration of Tommy, but Tommy is not letting this one go. Just needs to nail this corner exit, gets on the curb a little bit so he doesn't get the greatest exit, but it's not the biggest issue. All he has to do is just stay with him in the chicane. And let's see if he's able to produce that, as George Brabham also has Diakowski ahead of him to worry about. He pulls out, thinks about a move up the inside, doesn't quite make it happen. Tommy a little bit bouncy over the curbs there, but does keep the car nice under control. Diakowski goes a little bit deep for the corner. Actually, this might allow George Brabham to get a brilliant exit, and maybe even potentially try and challenge Diakowski for a move into turn 1. Looks like he's a little bit too far behind though to make anything happen. So he's trying to go for it up the inside, not really. Tommy Aslin trying to capitalize on the outside. No one gets a better exit than the other, and we have to stop back in for this train yet again. So this battle is going to continue, and while that happens, Gareth Higgins having a fight as well with Marks, trying to go around the outside, but that will mean that Marks has the inside for the next corner, and also allow Antoine Olive to try and make his way up the inside of Higgins to get a better exit. All he needs here is a good exit, and they all somehow manage to stay in their positions with a nice little scrap there between Higgins, Marks and Antoine Olive, and Martin Muller also right behind, ready to take advantage of anything that may have happened there. In the background. Just reading the chat, I have Vito saying forced feedback snapped his shoulder. What? I hope he's okay. Vito, are you okay? Because that sounds really painful. I was wondering why you were driving so slowly, just veering off. It did look like you had some sort of mechanical issue, but I didn't know it was an actual health issue. With the force feedback after the contact with Jack Mills. I hope you're okay. That's not nice to hear at all. I guess these direct drive wheels, they don't mess about, do they? Oh wow. Someone we haven't spoken a lot, Sai Prithvi. He was always looming in the background of this battle, but now he's looming in the rear of Tommy's wing. Right behind him as Tommy dives into the pit lane actually. He is going to try and make an undercut on the rest of the drivers now. Needed to refuel just that little bit, so this battle is now done. And Prithvi also, he was always in the background, but not quite close enough to make it a train, so to say. But there he was. All it took was one lap and almost made a move on Tommy Aslin. But Tommy, I think, smartly dives in the pit lane. He might have a bit of a free spot there to get some free air. And race some brilliant laps to try and undercut George Brabham, Diakowski, and maybe in the last Kirschbaum right ahead of him. Vito saying in the replay it doesn't show a snap of any sort, but he says he has a weird snap, so well, hope everything's fine. It's not the nicest to hear that your steering wheel is trying to break your arms. But yeah, it's keep us updated on that one. We have Black Rose as well in chat saying, wait, this is a video game? Lol. Yes it is. Welcome to ACC and welcome to 2S. I hope you're enjoying it so far. Sandro Ballesteros right back up the tail of Martin Betch. So this battle is a bit back and forth it seems. I thought once Martin Betch got past he would maybe make a bit of a gap, but it looks like Sandro Ballesteros says no thank you, I want to stay behind Marvin Betch, and he's staying there. Seems to be losing a bit of pace yet again, so maybe Marvin made a mistake somewhere. But this could be a battle to watch for the future, and another battle to watch for the present is Ruben van den Hooden going around the outside of Mikael Reinoha there into the hairpin, and that was a brilliant move. I wonder if we get that for the replay here. I'm not sure if this replay is cut as short, but yeah, you see Reinoha on the inside, Ruben van der Hooden carrying the speed around the outside, gets the throttle down, manages to get a better exit as well. Brilliant move by Ruben. Ruben obviously quite a sophisticated and strong racing driver here at 2S. A little bit surprising to see him so far down, but actually if you look at Tommy Aslin, He's only about 10 seconds off Tommy Aslin. I know Ruben started quite far back in the pack, so he's having quite a good race actually. Maybe could be in the mix at the end. He's got great pace, that's for sure. Jumping back to Alexander Diakovsky, who has a little bit of front damage, but I reckon that's from the incident on lap 1 with Sam Chumley. He's got Lars Kirschbaum in front, George Brabner behind. All three of them are racing, costing each other time, I'd say, to be honest. And, well, costing someone else time is Tommy Azelin going up the inside of Sandro Ballesteros, makes that move stick, it seems, and beautiful overtake there as he starts to navigate. They're not back markers yet, but he starts to navigate the traffic after his pit stops. All he has to do is get past Marvin Betch, and then he's got quite some free air to put down the lap times he needs in order to make that gap that he wants with the undercut he's been trying to race so far. But it doesn't look like either Alexander Diakovsky, George Brabner, Lars Kirschbaum, or Sai Prithvi are looking to pit at any point anytime soon, so they could be costing each other time. And as long as Tommy gets past Marvin Betch, then that's all he needs to do. But I was saying that actually he's good doing it right now up the inside into the hairpin. 2 moves in 1 lap, well, it's actually 2 moves in 2 sectors. Tommy Aslin goes, and he's got a back marker of Gebhardt in front of him. Then he's got 10 seconds of free air before he has to worry about the other guys coming out in front of him or behind him, depending on how his undercut goes. We see Sam Chumley also making a move on Rhinoha there in the background and making the most of his contact from earlier on. He's I was 4 or 5 seconds behind Ruben van den Hudding, so he's not out of it yet, and he's got good pace, as we saw in qualifying. Definitely has a bit of a task back for the last half of the race, but it'll be good to see his progression throughout, or at least at the end of the race when everyone's pitted and he's within the mix again. Let's ride on board a little bit with George Brabner as I try and take a little bit of a breath. I forgot to bring a water bottle. I did mention at the beginning of the stream that we should have a nice hot chocolate, a nice tea or something, some snacks while enjoying this race, but I forgot to think about myself, to be honest. I should have brought my water bottle. My throat's getting a little bit dry already. Timo, obviously not usually the commentator, he's not here today. I tried to get him in to join last week, and he joined the chat a little bit. I think he's obviously, he needs a well-deserved break as well. So no commentary today. Just reading, catching up in the chat. Borg saying he would love a direct drive wheel, but his noodle arms would not like it. I'm just saying, well, after having a direct drive wheel for a little while, you won't have noodle arms any longer, that's for sure. It's basically, well, I wouldn't say free gym session, a very expensive gym session. As you wrestle the cars around. And Vito obviously saying you just run a little bit lower force feedback and you'll be fine. And direct drive is not all about pure strength, it's also about the feedback it gives from the car and the track into the wheel, which you wouldn't normally feel with a belt-driven or motor-driven wheels like the Logitech and Thrustmasters of the world. I was saying that both Logitech and Thrustmaster have both brought out a direct drive wheel recently, so I'm quite keen on looking to see what the reviews are on the Thrustmaster. It looks very interesting, to say the least. It's a big one, and that could potentially be a great contender for Fanatec's ecosystem. Speaking of great contenders, Antoine Olive, Wout Marx and Martin Muller having the battle they have been having basically the whole race yet again, but this time a little bit closer to each other. Martin Muller only about 4 tenths behind Antoine Olive, and looking racy as ever with his pay-to-win BMW, trailing the 24 days of Charleroi car right in front of us. Let's have a little bit of a closer look on this one. So for those of you who don't know, Antoine Olive ran this livery without the rust for the last season of ACC as a homologation for the Charleroi airport. And the story behind the livery is it's been found 24 days after Charleroi, after they finished the season. Found 24 days after the season finished, sorry, at Charleroi. getting rust and just sort of rotting away in the ground, and Antoine Olivier has decided he'll pick up the same car yet again. This time with rust patches on it, decides not to paint it. He has to replace the door as well. As you can see, there's a brand new white door with his name and number on it in front. So he has a little bit of a touch up on his BMW, but it's going strong, that's for sure. And he's also going strong in P7 right now, trying to apply pressure to Van Marksville. I was saying that he dives in the pit lane, so does Marvin Betch, and now it gets really interesting because both George Brabner and Alexander Diakowski are in the pit lane. Tommy Aslin is in the final sector now. Who is going to get out in front? Will Tommy's undercut pay off, or will it have cost him dearly? And honestly, it looks like it has cost him. Well, actually, I'm saying it's not cost him dearly. What am I saying? George Brabner just getting into the pit lane now. You see Alexander Diakowski right behind him, actually leaving as we speak. Is slowly going down that little straight, and it doesn't look like it's enough for Tommy Aslin to make a mistake, and George Brabner might... Oh, it's a stop-go 30 for Alexander Diakowski. He must have sped in pit lane. They go side by side on the pit exit. George Brabner gets the inside, and Diakowski has to slot in behind him, but maybe gets a better exit. Could potentially get in front of George Brabner. He does have a stop-go 30 to take care of, but that's not going to stop him from racing. George Brabner and Alexander Diakowski get out ahead of Tommy Aslin, so that undercut did not work, but they're still going side by side there, and Diakowski is not backing out. Oh, there, speaking of back out, he does manage to back out right at the end there with his stop go 30. I don't think he's willing to race as hard as he might have, but going side by side out the pit lane, that was very interesting right there, but unfortunately he has a stop go 30 penalty. This race is not live stewarded, so that would be for speeding in the pit lane from Alexander Diakowski, and his race goes from potential 10-second penalty to 5-second penalty to I would say a lap down with the stop go 30 penalty, and he goes very deep there in the corner, and that's going to allow Tommy Aslin to catch up to him very soon, but he will anyways pass him no matter what, as Alexander has to serve that penalty. So we were saying earlier it might have been a good idea to undercut and pit early to try and get some free air, but Tommy didn't quite manage to get free air. He had to overtake Sandro Ballesteros and also the car of Marvin Betch, which I think cost him a little bit of time, and time it has cost him because he is now about 3 seconds behind George Brabner rather than 3/10 behind George Brabner. So could also potentially have had a bit of a poor pit stop, we don't know. All I know is the undercut's not worked out for him, and he has to do that work all over again to try and get past George Brabner, and this time I don't think it'll be as easy, as there's no one in front of George to distract him. Both the drivers will be in free air now, so you see Alexander Diakowski diving into the pit lane to serve his stop go 30 penalty. Lars Kirschbaum also on the pit exit now. Has he jumped George Brabner? It looks like he has as well, by quite some margin. The racing with Diakowski really costing George Brabner as well. So Lars Kirschbaum, timing his pit stop to perfection, comes out in provisional P3, but it will be P2 after Sai Prithvi pits. But Sai Prithvi is only about 15 seconds behind Miklia. I think it was about 4 or 5 seconds behind Lars Kirschbaum. So, okay, Miklia still has quite a big gap in the lead there with himself. So it should be quite a comfortable win for him today. Let's go have a look at it. In the same livery as Lars Kirschbaum. There is custom liveries in this series, as you have seen, but you have to submit it by before race 1 in order for it to be shown today on stream. And he's still going, Miklia. It looks like he might be going for a final lap pit stop, so to say, just to maximize his lap time on those tires. Jorge Prieto. I do apologize if I mispronounce your name, but he's applying the pressure on Mikel Reinoja in front of him. Let's see if he's able to get this move done. Reinoja obviously not being in the pit lane yet, as you can see with the orange 1 next to his name on the leaderboard, but Prieto has just come out of the pits, ready to gain some positions here today. A little bit in his own race at the moment. 5 seconds behind Ben Lowe's and 8 seconds ahead of Jack Mills. But I think at the end, you're looking around a P11, P12 finish, which is very strong for your first race here at 2S. And it's always nice. I love to see new faces here at 2S. It's great. Welcome to the community. Also, if you're not racing and you're interested in racing, have a look in the link in the description. or find us on SimGrid. If you search 2S Community, you will be able to find us there. And feel free to join. We're not just a racing community, we also do general gaming as well. And many friends have been made over the years. And, last year we met up at Spa, and we had a group of nearly 30 people at Spa, and it's a great community to get involved in. So if you're interested, have a look in the description and join the Discord. Prieto lining up his move now on Rhinoha, getting closer and closer down into turn 1. I don't know if he's going to get close enough to send it up the inside. He's thinking of his drone down the inside. Later on the brakes, Rhinoha moves to the outside, and through goes Prieto up to P13. And Rhinoha didn't have much more to say other than, alright, have it. Go. I did say nearly 30 people. I think maybe I should have said nearly 20 people. I can't remember the numbers exactly. Sorry, Nico. Excuse me. And yeah, as Nico also said in the chat, don't forget to leave a like, as he is the other manager at 2S. And if you're also interested in joining the racing, feel free to send him a message in the DMs. It's closer to 30 people than 10. At least I got something right. Correct? Well, now Sai Prithvi in the pit lane, and this will be very interesting with Tommy Aslin. I'll have a look where Tommy Aslin is at the moment. He's coming into the final chicane. I don't believe Prithvi has served his refueling yet. We'll have to see when he stops. He's stopped now in the pit lane. He's refuels. It takes about 5 seconds to refuel, I believe, depending on how much fuel he gets. And he's already leaving the pit lane now. So Sai Prithvi, he might actually have jumped George Brabner as well, it seems. So he's done a brilliant overcut here, and George Brabner will slot in right behind him. Here he is. You see him coming down the straight right behind Sai Prithvi. So Prithvi overcutting 2 drivers in the pit lane. Brilliant stuff from him. That is, there you go. You see the different strategies here today, and here's one that's worked out. It's the overcut, and that I believe is because George Brabner was caught up fighting Alexander Diakowski for half a lap while they both exited the pit at the same time. Brilliant stuff today. I didn't expect that to happen, as Prithvi was about 2 seconds behind Brabner, so he's quite with some free air. He's put down the laps, and he's managed to get ahead of both of them. Hats off to, and credit where credit is due. That is great stuff from the Indian driver there in the road racing BMW. Although he does have the pressure of George Brabner behind him, will he be able to hold out the last 10 minutes of the race, or will we have a brilliant battle on our hands? I hope it's the latter. We have to wait and see. But speaking of battles, Alexander Diakowski behind Mikael Osterholm. I don't think this will be a very hard overtake as he gets on the throttle, tries to go around the outside of the VVDL driver, and saying that, great defending from Osterholm actually. And Diakowski has to slot in behind for a little longer. I know that Diakowski has more pace generally, but Osterholm making it quite difficult for him to overtake at the moment. Let's go right on board with him. See, this might be a bit of a more interesting battle than I thought it would be. I thought Diakowski would just breeze past him, but no, Osterholm putting up quite a good fight, to be honest, and it's great to see. And who is that behind as he dives out the way? And that's actually Miklia coming to lap the field, and Osterholm dives out the way as well, but he might have dived out too much, as he has quite a slow acceleration, maybe into the hairpin. It will cost him, but it looks like he's just managed to defend that position for Diakowski. Diakowski pushing him through the corner now. If we have a look at his front splitter, how close they are, and there it is. Photos by Ben Lowe's being represented. That's the shot I was looking for, and now we can finally get this. So Ben, if you're watching, you're welcome. Everyone who wants to go follow him on Instagram. There is his @ on stream, @Photos by Ben Lowe's. Obviously Ben being the one who is the designer of this livery. Great livery, by the way. I'd say he's done a really good brand package for the VVDL cars. So a little shout out to Ben Lowe. Finally we managed to get it on the cameras, and I'm sure he'll be chuffed to see that happening. Alexander Diakowski though, looking to line up a move on Osterholm, trying to go up through the chicane, jumps the chicane. Osterholm goes deep to avoid contact, but they still collide together. Diakowski waiting for Osterholm to get through, but that was a bit of a clumsy move through the chicane, and not what I expected to see, as he just misses his braking point. But that is going to cost Osterholm a little bit of of time in this race, but I don't think it's cost Osterholm so much that it's a race-ending move. But Diakowski trying to go up the inside again. I think Osterholm is just going to let him go now because of that previous incident. That was unexpected for sure. But here we go. Diakowski makes his way, says sorry with his rear indicators, and then moves up through the field. Wow, that all kicked off from 0 to 100 in no time there. I did not expect that to happen. Vorik in chat saying that certainly was a line that was taken. It definitely was a racing line of some sort. Don't know what else to say to it, really. Anyways, let's go on board with George Brabner as he gets a bit of a poor exit from Sai Prithvi. Prithvi trying to break the slipstream behind as you see him darting across the track, doing his one allowed maneuver to change directions on the straights. And Brabner just has to stay behind him for now as they're both very quick drivers. But I will say, it looks like Tommy Aslan is slowly catching up. Let's have a look at their last laps. 54.9 for Tommy Aslan, 54.9 for George Brabner, and a 54.9 for Sai Prithvi. So they are all running identical lap times right now, which doesn't help with the racing, but it does mean all it takes is one of them to crack, and the other two will be ready to pounce in either direction. It doesn't really matter when, and I think we'll be seeing that soon, maybe more so with Prithvi and Brabner than Tommy Aslan, because Aslan is on an absolute flyer at the moment, catching up to this little pack here in front of him to maybe potentially get that P4 or P3 position actually once Wagner March hits. Taking a little break with Pull My Voice there. We got just over 5 minutes to go, and George Brabner trying to go around the outside of Sai Prithvi into the little right-left-hander complex. Has to start in behind Prithvi again, but this is going to cost both of them time. Tommy Aslan, I see, already on the deltas, gaining on these two ahead. So the more these two fight, the closer Tommy Aslan gets, the closer we have to a three-way battle for the very last minutes of the race. This is going to be a very exciting finish for the final podium step here today, and as we get closer to the podium finish, the more desperate the drivers will get, the better racing we will have. I really hope this will be a good finish, but George Brabner applying the pressure, gets a little bit squirrely on the entrance there, loses a little bit of time. It's going to give Sai Prithvi a bit of breathing room, but as you see, Tommy Aslan has gained quite a lot of time there behind George Brabner, gained nearly a whole second this lap just to catch up to him. And while that's happening, Jack Mills trying to make his overtake on Mikael Rainoha in front of him. Obviously, he was caught up in an incident early on as a Mills no incident, and let's see if he's able to make a clean overtake. Here he is with a much better exit, trying to go for the inside of the chicane. Rainoha covers the inside, so he'll have to go for the outside. Jack maybe trying to do a dummy up the inside, doesn't quite make it stick. Rainoha goes beautifully on the brakes at the right time and then dives into the pit lane, almost parking it at the apex. Jack Mills goes through, and that was an unexpected entrance to the pit lane. Wow. Brilliant stuff from those two, I guess. It's the fun things, the small things that amuse me in 2S. Been a great race today, to be honest. I've really enjoyed. Oh, there is Gebhardt in front of Sai Prithvi, as Prithvi has to jump out of the way of Gebhardt, as he also allows all the drivers to move through, and hopefully he doesn't block Tommy Aslan into the chicane. As Tommy up the inside in the chicane, not willing to lose any time, as Gebhardt managed to adhere to blue flag conditions correctly. And as I just saw right there, Tommy Aslan's window wipers, they quickly did a little swish wash. That means he's just saved a clip on his keyboard. Fun fact for you, so if you ever see the window wipers on Tommy Aslan going, he's just saved a clip, and I think it's passing the back marker. And speaking of passing, George Brabner trying to make a pass on Sai Prithvi. Is he going to do it in the chicane? He has to go for the outside. Not able to make a stick. Prithvi goes a little bit deep in the chicane. Brabner might get a bit of a better run into the final corner. He has the outside, but that's going to get him a pretty poor exit. Maybe trying to do the undercut maneuver. Doesn't make it happen, but that does allow him to get a brilliant run down into turn 1. What's it going to be? Is he losing a little bit of time behind? It does look like he's got a bit of a poor exit, actually, so he's not quite close enough to make a move. We go onto the bumper cam. See if he's trying to go up the inside. He goes for it. He's thinking about it. He's braking deep. He's going up the inside. Prithvi gives him the space. George Brabner goes through. Brilliant move into turn 1. Brabner up into P3. absolutely amazing racing between these two drivers, and Tommy Aslin is right behind him, ready to pounce, ready to give both these drivers a headaches. And we have a three-way battle for the podium now, with George Brabber leading the race, leading the fight for the podium. Brilliant stuff from these two drivers, and I can't wait to see the way this finishes. Sai Prithvi got a bit caught out on the exit there. He got a bit deep into the chicane, which allowed him to, George Brabner, to stay right behind him all the way through. Brabner with a huge send up the inside. Prithvi not turning in because he knows there's a car on the inside, and he knows there's nothing he can do about that or have contact. Brilliant racecraft from all the drivers, and I can't wait to see what Prithvi or Tommy have lined up, or Brabner for that second matter, what they have lined up for the final lap of the race, as we're about to hit the final lap. They have this lap and then one more lap to complete. And there, it's sadly the gaps are gapping a little bit, I guess you could say. But that was a brilliant racing. Sam Chumley also lining up a move on Ruben van den Hooydonk for P9 at the moment. Sam having a bit of a poor race with an incident at the start, is now trying to regain some positions. Ruben van den Hooydonk also starting further down the grid, but he's got Sam for company right now. And these are two brilliant drivers. They've had brilliant races before, and I've seen them fight tooth and nail. I've just seen Nico. I've updated the thumbnail using a picture from this very race. This is how advanced we are to us. We use thumbnails for a race while it's happening. You don't get that in any other communities, do you? Anyways, this battle is not over yet. Brabner dives to the inside to try and protect it, and it looks like there's a back marker in front of him actually. That is Tommy Aslin. Actually gets a better exit than Prithvi on the into turn one. He gives up the inside. Is he going to make the move stick? It looks like he's just about done. It runs him a little bit wide, a little bit of contact, but that's fine in GT3s. He gets the move done. Tommy Aslin up to P4. Brilliant stuff from him. Prithvi losing 2 positions in 2 laps, and now Tommy has got his head down, ready to pounce on George Brabner for that final podium position. And George has to navigate this back marker here of Ballesteros. Hopefully he won't get in the way too much of this battle, but this is basically money in the eyes of Tommy Aslin, as he does get out the way now, Ballesteros, and Tommy is not quite close enough to George Brabner to maybe make a move. But Sai Prithvi having to give up 2 positions from 2 brilliant overtakes there at the end of the final, well, sorry, at the beginning of the final lap there. And George Brabner might just take home this final podium position. And we'll come back to this battle because there's another battle brewing, and that is the one with Sam Chumley and Ruben van der Hooydonk, and actually Marks as well, who's right behind. And this is not over yet either. I thought they were going to make a move into the hairpin. It didn't quite look like it was on, and he hasn't quite made it happen yet. So Sam getting a brilliant exit through the chicane. Is he gonna? It's gonna be now or never, Sam. It's either now or through the chicane, and I don't think he's gonna quite do it. He's going up the inside. Oh no, he's not. He's backing out of it, gonna try and get a great exit. And while that's happening, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to cut back, but Tommy Aslin is very close to George Brabner. He's got 1 corner left to make a move, and while that's happening, I'm sorry, Andrea Miklia finishes the race in P1. Lars Kirschbaum comes home in P2, and it looks like George Brabner will be able to stay ahead of Tommy Aslin to take home P3 at the 2S challenge here at Nurburgring. Tommy Aslin in P4, Sai Prithvi in P5. Brilliant racing from these 2 drivers. And there's another race until the very finish here, and that is Sam Chumley and Ruben van der Hooydonk. A little bit of a better exit for Sam Chumley, but I don't think it's enough to get past Ruben, and Ruben does take the P8 position. P9 for Sam Chumley. We get P10 for Marsh, who just gets a 130-second penalty. I wonder what that is for. I'm not quite sure. But Sam... Oh, that's gonna hurt his wrist a bit. Sam running his race all the way through, and I think no fuel for Marks is what Warwick says, that he just pitted without refueling. That might be it, but that was a brilliant finish. But we still are not finished yet. Jurien Visser has a last second attempt lined up in front of him. Marvin Betch going into the chicane, doesn't do it quite there. Marvin Betch jumping over the curbs, Visser behind him jumping through the curbs, and it looks like Marvin's done all he can to keep Visser behind, and Visser's done all he can to try and pass, and it doesn't look like it's enough for Visser to pass. Betch will keep his P16 position, and Visser will come home in P17. What a finish to this race, and hats off to Andrei Miklia, who is right here flashing his lights for the win today. Brilliant drive for him, dominating from the start to finish, pole position, fastest lap, and led every single lap. So that is a grand slam there today from Andrei Miklia. brilliant performance from him. Lars Kirschbaum as well, returning to 2S grid in high fashion, taking home a P2 finish in the same livery car there as we saw from Miklia. Amazing race from Kirschbaum as well, kept it calm and collected with Diakovsky, Brabner and Aslan behind him for the first half of the race, and then the second half he just stormed off without thinking about it. George Brabner in the pits, I can understand why. Amazing overtake for Cy Prithvi to get that P3. Tommy Aslan, oh, doing a little drift with Miklia there, synchronized drifting in that Luke Slay powered by ACL Racing, Luke Slay Racing by ACL car there. As you see Lars Kirschbaum pull up next to him there. Tommy celebrating with synchronized drifting, and Miklia, brilliant performance from Tommy. Cy Prithvi as well. Amazing performance, takes P5 at the end. Really happy to see it. I'm just going to quickly give a shout out to Ben Lowe's, parking with the other VVDL boys. You love to see it. I can imagine Aiden Bailey will wish he was here right now, but that is the VVDL boys parked up at the hairpin at the moment. Just having a nice little photo shoot, I can imagine. That is Gareth Higgins, Ben Lowe's and Mikael Osterholm. Having a nice little get together there. Just like a little campsite, I would say. It's very wholesome. But anyways, thank you very much everyone for watching. What a race that was. Keep in mind you can come back again next week at the same time for another race here with the BMW challenge. I can't remember the track we're at next week. I'll just quickly have a look at the track list before I sign off. There we are. So the track for next week is going to be Imola, and then after that it'll be Suzuka. And the final track of the series will be a random track chosen just an hour before the race, so no one has any practice. That's going to spice up the grid a little bit. Everyone who completed the race today, well done. You've earned yourself another raffle ticket for the giveaway, which will happen at the end. And thank you very much everyone in the chat for keeping me company. Thank you everyone who's been watching. Leave a like, subscribe, go into the Discord if you're new here. And thank you everyone for putting on a brilliant show today. It's been me, Christian Stricker. It's been 2S with the BMW challenge. What a great race we've had. Brilliant stuff. And I can't wait to see you guys next week. Bye bye.